I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. It's because he is. It's because he is. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Because we have to ferociously push back on this. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully.
Is there something going on that we're missing?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, whose balls is he hiding in his cheeks?
Yeah.
That's the first question I want to know. And I don't love the way he says, Pierce.
Yeah.
Tim Walz's carefully maintained image just went up in smoke. Tyrus didn't hold back. He cracked it wide open for everyone to witness. This isn't some random rant. It's Tyrus going all out, digging into Walz's history like he's prying open a sealed safe. And what pours out is wilder than a midnight carnival. Once Tyrus unleashes, there's no way out. Walz has nowhere to turn, and nothing left to cover up.
It's because he is. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Because we have to ferociously push back on this. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully, to watch this bully and to stop it. And when it's a child, you talk to them and you tell them why bullying's wrong. But when it's adult like Donald Trump, you bully the out of him back. This is a weak, cruel man that takes it out and...
Tyrus didn't just roll out of bed, grab a cup of coffee, and casually drop Tim Walz's name into the conversation. No, he woke up, scrolled through the non-stop headlines, spotted the chaos unraveling, and decided right then and there that he'd had enough. And when Tyrus says enough, it doesn't sound like some mild complaint. It explodes with the energy of a WWE promo, the kind that guarantees mayhem, pyrotechnics, and a body slam straight through the political coffee table.
Identity is deeply part of it. That's one of the, I mean, I think it goes, and you can look at the reasons why we've had this sort of dialectic over the Me Too movement.
How do you fight it?
This notion
I think
of
I could kick most of their.
What he's mad about is his own fault. He's mad about the image that was portrayed of him as the hunter. And who did that? You did that. We just laughed about it because the one thing you can't do is you can't front. You can't floss. Those are two key words when it comes to manhood.
If you're liking this takedown, make sure to hit that subscribe button. There he is, unloading on Tim Walz, leaving people shocked. Not because Tyrus is loud, he always is, but because now the spotlight is locked on Minnesota's everyman dad turned governor. And that polished reputation starts to split wide open, like a Walmart parking lot riddled with potholes.
Yeah.
A teacher snatches the bully's ass up.
Yeah.
Come sit with me. That's why I know someone's bully. Oh, you can sit with me for a while. And then I would lean on him. I'd bully him back. He's not a teacher. He's not a politician. He's a creepy guy who can't remember his speeches. I don't know what the hell was in the water in that White House, or was everyone on the same bad cocaine? But Kamala can't speak. He can't speak. Biden was so high he couldn't remember anything. Like, this is literally the dumbest administration of all time. Why is he talking?
It really is the ultimate clown show. And I said this in the pod. He's a clown without a...
Tim Walz has been sold to America as the easygoing, everyday guy. The neighbor who'd help you carry a couch, give a wave while mowing the lawn, maybe even show up at the church picnic with a bowl of potato salad. But Tyrus isn't digging in. He's prodding it with a fork, eyeing it skeptically, and saying, "This doesn't taste like authenticity. It stinks of politics left out in the sun."
I feel bad for Elon.
Mm-hmm.
I would be furious if I was him.
Mm-hmm.
If this is who you sent to troll me?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing wrong to get the guy from D Team to come out at Family Theater and call me names?
Yeah.
Like, Tim, I would, if they were like, oh, Tyrus, man, tough news cycle. Tim Walz is talking about you. I'd be like, oh, Timmy, I want to fight him so bad.
And that's where the first hit lands. Tyrus doesn't view Walz as the friendly small-town everyman. He sees him as a polished politician who perfected the grin while sneaking new policies under the door, like a hotel bill you never agreed to cover. On the surface, Walz's resume reads like a Hollywood script meant to inspire. Teacher, football coach, veteran, a champion of hometown values. You hear it and think, this guy is basically the living, breathing version of a State Farm ad. But here's the catch. Once Walz actually took office, the storyline didn't match the performance. And that's exactly where Tyrus starts digging, because nothing riles people up more than the gap between what politicians promise and what they actually deliver. And Walz? His gaps are huge, wider than a Minnesota pothole in the middle of winter. That's when Tyrus starts pulling receipts, not with spreadsheets or binders, but with the sledgehammer of comedy. He calls out Walz's greatest hits, like the COVID-19 lockdowns that somehow made it fine to buy booze at a gas station but illegal to sit in a church pew. And he doesn't stop there. Tyrus drags out the contradictions, the flip-flops, the political doublespeak Walz has stacked up over the years like a binder full of Pokemon cards. Only this collection doesn't make him a hero, it makes him the punchline.
Tweets, my DMs, like just one arm, and I just want to slap the. He's so weak. He brings nothing. If you were gonna go after someone, man to man, hit him with a fact. Hit him with something real.
Yes.
You don't have anything. And here's the cold part. If Elon called him up and said, "Hey Tim, you want a job?" he would take it. Because that's what spineless. He would, and when he was questioned, he was like, "I was just holding him an account. You know, I respect him, and I'm so happy to be working for X." He is the worst player on their team, and they don't mind sending him out because
They're trying to get him off the table.
Yeah.
They're putting him out early so he can't be a factor later.
One moment Walz is for something, the next he's against it. Completely dependent on which way the political breeze happens to blow. And if you think Tyrus is letting that slide, think again. He doesn't just label it a flip-flop. He paints Walz as a full-on circus act, auditioning for Cirque du Soleil with the number of backflips he's done just to stay politically comfortable. Honestly, if Walz ever ditched politics, he could probably snag a spot in an acrobatics troupe and still stick the landing. It's like a politician swearing he shops at Target while being chauffeured there in a black SUV that costs more than your mortgage. The disconnect is so massive you could march the entire Minnesota Vikings offensive line through it and still have room left over for the mascot. And here's where it gets even juicier. Tyrus doesn't just hammer the policies or the contradictions. He locks in on the performance itself.
Rachel Levine, look, he has a sports coat and a zip-up sweater underneath. No man wears that.
I may have done that in the past.
Yes.
I
You've
won't
done
now,
that many
Tyrus.
Yeah, and one day somebody's going to explain what a corporate income tax is to these people. It's not paid by this. It's not paid by the corporation. It's not like a building that goes, "I've got to pay taxes." It's the workers.
Because let's be real, politics today is just as much showmanship as it is substance. Walz knows how to play the part. He's got the tone, the look, the perfectly rehearsed demeanor, but to Tyrus, it's nothing but smoke and mirrors. He compares it to watching a magician at a kid's birthday party. Everyone else gasps at the trick, but he's the guy in the back shouting, "Check his sleeve!" That's the kind of blunt honesty people latch onto. Because once the illusion is shattered, you can't unsee it. Suddenly, Walz's ordinary guy persona looks less like authenticity and more like the political equivalent of an Instagram filter. The pandemic response was the first fracture, shutting down gyms while liquor stores kept booming. But the real spotlight hit after George Floyd's death, when the streets exploded, businesses burned, fear spread, and leadership was urgently needed. Instead, Walz delivered what many saw as hesitation, delay, or outright confusion. And Tyrus doesn't pull punches. He paints Walz frozen in the middle of chaos, standing there with a garden hose at a 5-alarm fire, praying the wind shifts before the flames close in.
No,
That's a big red flag. Whenever you meet someone and they have to give you their resume,
Yeah.
and then as soon as they talk, you're like, "That's why you gave me your resume.
Yeah, because it doesn't speak for itself.
You suck."
Yeah. It's like when people have their PhD
Yes.
on their Twitter handle. It's like, this person's completely bonkers.
And their pronouns.
Yes. Are you mad, though, Tyrus, that, beards have been kind of co-opted by beta males like Tyler?
No, because
Watch what you
it's
say.
like all. Wait, hold on. Watch what I say. I will f- around, stick my hand up your back, and make you my puppet for the rest.
And that's where the sarcasm hits its peak. Because Tyrus doesn't just say Walz failed. He turns it into a sitcom gone off the rails. Imagine your neighbor promising to fix the fence but showing up with duct tape and a shrug. That's the picture Tyrus drills into your mind. And once it's there, it sticks. By the time he's done, Walz isn't just a politician with a few slip-ups. He's a walking contradiction wrapped in a cardigan of small-town charm, hoping no one notices the policies sloppily taped underneath. The genius of Tyrus tearing into Walz isn't just in the words, it's in the delivery. He doesn't sound like some dry political analyst buried in data. He sounds like that loud uncle at Thanksgiving who finally snaps and says the turkey's bone dry. Walz, of course, has a flair for grand promises. Free this, expanded that, opportunities for all. On paper, it sounds like Minnesota is about to morph into a Nordic utopia. Lakes, loons, and affordable healthcare for every goldfish. But in practice, the rollout looks less like a polished plan and more like a middle school group project where everyone forgot their assignment until the night before.
I think I would have won. Susie would say I would have won Pennsylvania easily anyway, even if the governor ran, the real governor, not the governor from Minnesota, he's a sick puppy, that guy. That poor guy, I feel sorry for him. But they made a big...
That's where Tyrus really hits his stride. He points out how Walz talks like the lead in a Hallmark movie, but governs like a guy who tossed out the script and started winging it. It's politics as karaoke. You recognize the tune, but by the second verse he's mumbling and praying nobody notices. Take taxes, for instance. Walz loves to brand himself as the defender of working families. Yet those same families keep opening their mailboxes to find bigger tax bills staring them down. And Tyrus doesn't drown it in dry financial jargon. He paints Walz sneaking into your living room at night, digging through couch cushions for spare change, then bragging that he's investing in the future. Meanwhile, Minnesota's schools are sinking fast. Test scores are dropping, curriculum fights are exploding, and parents are left more baffled than a cat dropped into a swimming pool. Tyrus rips into the irony. A governor who once taught kids about responsibility but now can't seem to steer the state's education system without crashing into iceberg after iceberg.
What do you make? Whoa, you got something there?
Hold on, before we do this, man, I got to protein up. Hold on.
Chug. Oh, he's chugging it.
I need more protein, Phil. I got my protein pudding, my protein shakes, jerky if you piss me off, but this ain't enough protein for this segment, Greg. I got an old school distillery here.
Where'd you get?
Then there's Law and Order, and the contradictions there could fuel an entire Netflix series. Walz casts himself as the empathetic leader, preaching justice, fairness, and reform. But then, bam, chaos explodes in the streets. Businesses get boarded up, leaders scramble, and clear direction is nowhere to be found. Tyrus frames it like a bad sitcom. Picture the governor walking into the madness, clapping his hands, and saying, "All right, folks, let's settle down," while the scene unravels like Black Friday at Walmart. And then there's his military background. Walz served, and that's supposed to be his credibility card. The leadership badge he pulls out whenever his decisions get challenged. It's the political equivalent of flashing baby pictures to win an argument. But here's the kicker. Tyrus doesn't just spotlight the contradictions. He mocks the entire performance. Walz has perfected the act of looking stern when it's convenient and cheerful when the polls demand it. Tyrus calls it straight-up political shape-shifting, like one of those mood rings from the 90s. Whatever the public is feeling, Walz suddenly reflects it, morphing into a full-blown political chameleon.
I gotta tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there? I gotta tell you, pointing out just an observation of mine that I made. I just have to say it. You know it, you feel it. These guys are creepy, and yes.
And here comes the comedy gold. Tyrus paints Walz as the type of guy who literally rehearses empathy in the mirror. Do I look concerned? Should I tilt my head 30 degrees? Maybe 45? It's exaggerated, but the picture sticks, and suddenly you can't help imagining Walz practicing his "I care deeply" face in the bathroom before every press conference. Meanwhile, Tyrus shreds one of Walz's favorite talking points: unity. He loves to preach about bringing people together. Sounds noble, right? Except under his watch, Minnesota's been about as unified as a family Monopoly game after 2 hours. Boards flipped, rules disputed, and someone storming off in frustration. Walz rolls up his sleeves, leans on his small-town roots, maybe even drops a dad joke to sell the homespun charm. But to Tyrus, that's no different than a used car salesman tossing on a baseball cap to seem relatable. The car's still broken, but hey, at least he looks like he might watch football with you. And here's the sting. Tyrus says Walz's contradictions don't stop at policy, they're baked right into his persona. He's not the everyman. He's a polished product, carefully packaged for maximum appeal.
Former VP nominee Tim Walz, he joined Beto O'Rourke at a Texas town hall last night, and the estrogen levels were enough to give Chuck Norris menstrual cramps. I wonder, is our strength our diversity?
Our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years as a country of immigrants, and we let them define the issue on immigration. We let them define the issue on DEI, and we let them define what woke is. We got ourselves in this mess because we weren't bold enough to stand up and say, you damn right we're proud of these policies. We're going to put them in, and we're going to execute them.
So, wait, you lost because you weren't woke enough?
And once Tyrus tears off that packaging, you're not seeing Minnesota nice anymore. You're seeing politics as usual, just dressed in a plaid shirt instead of a suit. By this point, the audience isn't only laughing, they're nodding along. Because even if you don't agree with every jab, the pattern's impossible to ignore. The contradictions pile up higher, the irony cuts sharper, and the comedy makes it stick. That's when Tyrus shifts gears. He stops roasting Walz as just one man and blows him up into a symbol. A stand-in for politicians everywhere who say one thing, do another, and still expect applause for the performance. In Tyrus's version, Walz is running Minnesota like a guy trying to assemble IKEA furniture without the instructions. The parts don't line up, screws are missing, and the whole thing wobbles the second you lean on it. But there he is, gripping the Allen wrench with confidence, insisting he's got it handled. By the time Tyrus unloads this second wave of shots, Walz's polished image doesn't look like a steady leader anymore. It looks like a flimsy stage prop in a political play. And the audience? They're hooked, because once someone starts pulling back the curtain, you can't look away.